Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Why, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. Hey, it is a Thursday, your pre-Friday celebration, and we are going into your 4th of July Independence Day celebration tomorrow. So happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July to you. You finally made it. You scream ice cream, we all scream for ice cream. Although it is not National Ice Cream Day, that would be the day that Joe Biden officially dropped out of the presidential race of 2024, and I will never let you forget that one. Welcome into the show. We have a lot to talk about, obviously. Some breaking news happening just a couple hours ago. You can pat yourself on the back, and you can thank all the great organizations and the Republicans and all the great activists that have made this happen. We finally did it after the long road, after the treacherous road, after the insane bickering back and forth. We finally saw a vote in the House of Representatives and passing it on to the President of the United States.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Boom. There it is. 218 to 214. Only two Republicans actually stepping away. If you remember, what was it, yesterday when the Senate, I don't know, it's been all a blur with how quickly all this has gone through, but after the Senate passed theirs and passed it back onto the House, there were 20 Republicans that were really concerned about what this one big, beautiful bill, and I know I'm not supposed to say that anymore because Chuck Schumer changed the name of the bill to just the act, but I don't care. I do not care. We're still going to call it the big, beautiful bill because that's exactly what it is. And if you remember, there were roughly 20 Republicans that were concerned about what the difference was between when they passed their original piece of legislation just a few weeks ago. But apparently the winning happened and we were able to win them over, and we ended up seeing all of them come on board except for the two. So well done. Congratulations to us. We did it. Pat yourself on the back on that. By the way, before we get into the details of the bill and how this vote turned out, I want to just show that maybe this was the tipping point for Democrats, and it's no coincidence. This was one of the headlines on the Drudge Report right now from the Independent California Institute. The latest poll, now I don't know when they did this poll. It was done in January. Okay, it was done in January, but now this is the transition of Donald Trump, and now what we're seeing today in the release of this poll, timing coincidental? I think not. According to the Independent California Institute, that the majority of Californians now would be considering themselves or even be open to the idea of seceding from the United States.
Say what?
I know. I find it kind of funny, and this leads right into the one big beautiful bill because Democrats are so angry. The propaganda, the misleading information, the lies, the misrepresentation is so bad. I mean, they have cranked up the dial to 12 on the misinformation, trying to spread lies about this information. So as Republicans, as conservatives, now it's our duty. We need to celebrate because it's 4th of July weekend and we need to try and enjoy as much of it as we can. But we really have to crank up our dial on messaging as well, letting people understand what's actually in this bill. Understanding that, no, this is not taking away all health care for all individuals. We're not going to see all these people die in the streets, is what we've heard for oh so long.
We're all going to die because of you!
That's the paranoia that we've heard from the other side of the aisle, and it's just not blatantly true at all. It's not factual at all. And we need to let people know about that. We need to calm down for just a moment. Now, there was a CNN poll that was done, I want to say last week, early this week. Again, it's been kind of a blur. Don't really remember when it all came out. That Donald Trump's favorability under Republicans is at an all-time high. And by all-time high, meaning like all Republicans since Ronald Reagan at this point in the game, 5 months into an administration, that Republicans have an approval rating of Donald Trump higher than any other president, including Ronald Reagan, by the way, even after his assassination attempt while in office. That says something. So Democrats, so angry with what's going on, they realize that they can't stop it. The courts can't stop it now after the Supreme Court ruling. The Democrat leadership can't win over moderate Republicans any longer. They're losing, and really, I don't know how many years, since the Obama administration, we're finally beginning to repeal just about everything that Barack Obama had done in this nation. And I think that's pretty exciting. So that being said, now California says that they want to secede from the country. 50% of Californians say that they trust leadership in Sacramento more than they do in Washington, D.C. 71% say that California would be better off as a special autonomous state with the United States and not an actual state of the nation. And 44% of Californians would vote for a ballot measure for peaceful legal secession, with 54% saying that they would vote against it. So there you go. The angry Democrats continue on. And here's what I have to say about you. I really just don't care. Don't care.
We don't care anymore.
What was that? I didn't quite hear that. Can you do it again for me?
We don't care anymore.
Didn't quite catch that. Try it one more time.
We don't care anymore.
Oh, I didn't quite get there. Something in my ear. Hold on.
We don't care anymore.
Bye, Felicia. We don't care what Democrats really say because we are in control and we are doing what we need to do. Even after, by the way, the grandstanding of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our favorite person here on this program.
I am told this is a garbage disposal.
Of course, now she said that the big, beautiful bill was a, quote, deal with the devil in her speech where she got really, really angry. Then you had the record-breaking speech from Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader for the Democrats, that went on this entire tirade for 8 hours, breaking the record, apparently, for this process on speaking about a bill before the actual vote. It was supposed to be a 1-hour debate, and it turned into just a grandstanding where he did not relinquish the floor for 8 hours straight. And I listened to the majority of it. When I came in this morning, first on, I turned it on. I hit the record button in case there was any outlandish things that were being said, trying to follow what was going on throughout the day today. And he said a whole lot of first lies and misinformation. None of it's true. And that's why Democrats are like, I'm so angry. But none of it's true at all. And then he just went on just random tirades. You could tell he was exhausted towards the end.
And as a result
oh, yeah. Okay, let's do this. Really? Yeah.
of these
Very, very dramatic.
Trump tariffs
Yeah.
are now at risk of experiencing thousands of dollars per year
He sounds so authoritative.
in additional costs. Mm-hmm. And there is nothing in this one big ugly bill
Oh, very clever.
that is going to meaningfully
I can't. Stop. I can't do it. Very long, very dramatic. I understand why he did it. If you remember, Democrats are still right now in their looking for the leadership. They are applying for the position for the leadership of the Democrat Party. Who's going to lead them forward? Right now, AOC is the popular vote based on the polls. Hakeem Jeffries is one of those as well, lingering out there. Jasmine Crockett's throwing out the race card. You got Gavin Newsom with Mr. Suave here out there doing the podcast in California, trying to reach the younger generation through the media line. So everybody's going at their different angles with the ongoing Democrat race, with the reality TV show that you and I are watching right before our eyes for the leadership for the Democrat Party. And Hakeem Jeffries thought that this was the opportunity for him to do that. His 8 hours of almost made me fall asleep when I was trying to work throughout the day today of him speaking about how terrible this, what did he call it?
and there is nothing in this one big ugly bill.
Oh, that's right. Very clever. Oh, yeah. The one big beautiful bill to the one big ugly bill. He did it again later on, too.
Of the middle class, of the poor and the sick and the afflicted. Nothing in Donald Trump's one big ugly bill.
Very clever. Very clever. It was very dull and boring, but I got to tell you, when it was done, there was some excitement like we've never seen, and a hat tip to Speaker Mike Johnson. He killed it on the floor today. He did not do an 8-hour speech. In fact, his was only about 7 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, long. It wasn't very long. And he came out and in that short amount of time completely destroyed Hakeem Jeffries with everything he said.
My friends and colleagues on both sides of the aisle, we've waited long enough. Some of us have literally been up for days now. But this day is a hugely important one in the history of our nation. We have a big job to finish, and that's why we're here on the week of July 4th, just a day before now, America's birthday. It was on that fateful day, as a Democrat leader acknowledged, that our founders pledged their lives and their sacred honor to this grand experiment in self-governance that we are now here to steward. It's an experiment that falls to us to guard and to protect it. We take that very seriously on this side of the aisle. In just a few moments, we will remind the world why the American experiment still endures today and why its best days are still ahead of us.
Yeah, well done. It was a perfect speech, I think, from Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, here's the thing, in moving forward, and Republicans, we have to come back to the table for just a moment, regather, kind of recoup ourselves, because it was a very divisive, very angry, very controversial bill, both from the original House version to the Senate version, back to the House, and trying to get everybody on board. I want to be very clear here. that Republicans, we need to come back and unite together again. Republicans do so well at beating each other up. We had a lot of fiscal hawks, and rightfully so, concerned about the spending. I want to be very clear. We do not support, and I do not like the idea of raising the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. That to me is absolutely insane. I've never wanted to see the debt ceiling raised again, ever, ever, even during the Barack Obama administration, we've never wanted to see the debt ceiling actually be increased, and it continues to be increased, and we're concerned, or at least some were concerned about the spending increases at the federal level and an increase in debt. That should be everybody's concern. Now, we have very limited understanding of what this bill can do on how it's going to impact the markets. All we have is the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. That's it. They gave their estimates, and then we have to roll from there, and they don't take into consideration that this bill is going to increase the GDP and spur economic growth. We can only anticipate, and they can only anticipate, but that's the only one that's giving us this projection of what it could look like. And they're saying it's going to raise it, $2.5, $3 trillion on the national debt. I don't think that's going to be true. I personally don't. With $5 trillion in tax cuts, I think that's going to spur economic growth in the country that we haven't seen in a long time. The tariff deals, the trade negotiations, everything that Donald Trump is doing is all leading up towards a massive economic boom. While the Democrats are out there screaming about recession, we just added almost another 200,000 jobs this past month, well above what the anticipation was and what their projections were with the federal government. I'd say that's a win. So here's to the two individuals, the two Republicans that did not vote for this bill in the 218 to 214 vote that we saw today with Congressman Thomas Massie and Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. I don't blame you. I understand, and it's okay. And thank God we had enough people vote for it that you could still stand on the principle to vote against it, to where you feel like you voted with your conscience and with your values and what you stood for. I am not going to attack you for it. I wish you would have voted, and understand that we have long processes to go, because this is not the end. This was a major bill. If you remember, under the Biden administration, by this time, 5 months into the administration, we've seen 5 or 6 or 7 bills actually go through Congress and signed by the president. Well, signed by the auto pen. We'll just put it that way. Maybe not signed by the president, but signed by the auto pen. This is really the second bill that Congress has actually passed, but it pretty much sums up the entire agenda of what Donald Trump promised he was going to do, all in one lump sum bill. Sealing the border, more resources to build and finish the wall, to actually build this, alligator Alcatraz and the other places for deportation, to try and boost up security across the country, to codify the Trump tax cuts. Imagine, we just codified your tax cuts. The tax breaks that you've been receiving since the first Trump administration are not going away. They are solidified. They are permanentized. They are done. That is a big step. If you receive Social Security as an elderly and retired individual, if you work on overtime, if you work on tips, your taxes are going away. If you purchase a vehicle that was made in America, you write off that interest on your taxes from now on. These are major wins that are done. We don't have to fight it anymore. It's done. And I wish the other two would have got on board with it. But that being said, it's okay. I understand their concerns. Now, the next step, we have a rescissions bill that's already being discussed and working through both chambers as well, codifying the DOGE cuts that we've seen. And we still have a federal budget we have to work on for next year as well, which gives us ample opportunity of doing massive cuts and getting our budget under control. We'll talk about some of that when we come back right around the corner for your pre-Friday celebration.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. When reason meets radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
I come from the show me state, and what we just heard can be defined in one word. A bunch of hogwash is what we've heard for 8 hours on that side of the building.
So the response from Hakeem Jeffries didn't turn out too well. Didn't turn out as expected, but he's again looking for his leadership role in the Democrat Party, trying to be that next big Barack Obama. Yeah, he's not that. Do you think that he's standing up to the challenge of filling the shoes of a Barack Obama? No. That's not the case. Here's the message to the Republican Party now. First and foremost, congratulations. It was a hard-fought battle, and now we need to lick our wounds and come back together as a party. I've always tried to use this analogy, and if you're relatively new to the program, then hopefully this makes sense. But as you know, Italian families are the great example here that when you're at the dinner table, you're yelling at each other, you raise your voices unintentionally, you smack each other on the back of the head, and you get very angry. And sometimes there's that internal fight. And you fight a lot. I know. I've watched Everybody Loves Raymond. Yeah, see what we did there? Yeah, actually, there we go. But when anybody messes with the family from the outside, then you're a united front. You do not allow it. And when you mess with one, you mess with the entire family. That's the way the Republican Party needs to be. Thomas Massey, I don't agree with your vote. I understand why you didn't vote for the One Big Beautiful Bill, but I disagree with it. That's all right. We still passed it. We made it happen. Now let's work on what you were concerned about. Republican Party, the job's not over. Mike Johnson and John Thune and all the leadership across the board in Congress, the job's not done. We passed the agenda of what Donald Trump wanted to get done. Now let's get done the agenda that we need to get done. That is massive cuts in spending. We have a rescission bill working through the House and the Senate right now that's going to codify a lot of the DOJ cuts. That's what we need to focus on. We continue, and I know it's controversial because Democrats are going to lose their minds even more.
We're all going to die because of you!
We need to continue to reform some of the social programs at the federal level. We need to cut out more government agencies. We need to cut the spending massively. And I'm curious with the 20 Republicans when the bill came back from the Senate over to the House of Representatives. I'm curious on what deal that Mike Johnson and the conservative fiscal hawks, Chip Roy and some of the others, were able to make in order to support the bill moving forward. Was there a promise that either the rescissions bill is going to be larger or that the federal budget, which we still have to work on, we'll see if we actually get it done in time by the end of September. Are we likely to see that? Probably not, just based on the track record that we have in Congress, that we'll actually get a fiscal budget done by the end of September, so the fiscal year starts off properly. But I want to see some major cuts. I don't want to see like $1 trillion over a 10-year period. I want at least $1 trillion next year cut. Let's do that. And then the fiscal hawks, the Chip Roys, the Rand Pauls, the Thomas Masseys, these guys that were very concerned about the spending and the increased debt that we're going to see in this nation, let's appease them. Let's make sure that they are happy because we still have a conservative majority. It may be slim, but we have a majority in the Republican House and the Senate right now. Let's utilize that, and we want to tell Democrats for them to say thank you. We want to cram it down their throats to where they can do nothing about it and then say thank you at the end of the day because they're already irate about what's going on, even for the smallest reforms from the Medicaid program right now that we're already battling.
On the Medicaid piece, though, there's obviously going to be a big debate about this. I mean, there are like almost 5 million able-bodied people on Medicaid who simply choose not to work. They spend 6 hours a day socializing and watching television. And if you can't get off grandma's couch and work, I don't want to pay for your welfare.
I don't know where you're getting those numbers. CBO says there are 5 million Americans who are sitting on their couch watching television and TV.
CBO that you just cited.
This kicks 17.
That's right. Okay, so that was Scott Jennings, by the way, on CNN. It's so funny because he just he throws the grenade into the room and just watches it explode and watch the other Democrats lose their minds. So the CBO, that 5 million people are just not working, able-bodied, and just sitting there getting government programs. We don't need that. That's what we reformed here. And they're all, I can't believe that. Where did you get those numbers? From the Congressional Budget Office, the only ones that actually study what's going on. And while they are skewed, they're manipulated based leaning towards the left side of the aisle. It could be even more. That's all the data that we actually have. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more to do, but it's a big win for today.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. Truth, reason, and common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Message should Americans be getting tomorrow when you sign this bill?
Well, I think it's going to be really a message of proudness. You're going to be proud of your country because our country is doing fantastically well. The economy is great. You saw the stock market today. We're setting records. And in every aspect of our country, we're doing well, despite the fact that we inherited millions of people that shouldn't have been here. And I think we have crime stats that are coming out that are showing the lowest numbers we've had in many years. and that it also, despite the fact that a lot of people are here that shouldn't have been let into our country. So they're going to be very proud tomorrow.
All right, so that was President Donald Trump just actually a few minutes ago. As I know, a little bit rough audio there, but he was at the air base, the airplane going behind him. But speaking about signing the big, beautiful bill tomorrow, so apparently that's on his schedule now. He is, by the way, in Iowa at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. He'll be speaking there later on tonight. We'll have that information for you in just a little bit. But there it is. President Trump excited. He's excited to sign the big, beautiful bill, and it's going to be a signing of hope, an exciting day of what he says is the kickoff of the golden age of America, where Republicans excited that they've finally been able to get done what they've been working on for a while.
We did it! We did it! We did it! Yay!
That's what. By the way, I think that's what Hakeem Jeffries was thinking as well. Like, man, I was able to stay up there and speak for 8 hours straight, even after saying that apparently filibustering certain bills was like remnants of Jim Crow laws and racist or something. And he said that a couple years ago. Now he breaks the record for a filibuster of a bill. He feels really proud of himself.
I'm a big kid now.
That being said, let's get into what's trending today. What do you say?
What's trending today?
Part of the One Big Beautiful Bill does reinforce the border with border security, gets it the resources it needs, $200 billion to finish building the wall as well, and it reinforces law enforcement across the nation as well. As you know, we've been going through the criminal justice reforms in this nation. President Trump and Kristi Noem was in Florida for the Alligator Alcatraz a day or two ago as we continue to put really, really, really bad illegal migrants into those detention facilities. An expansion of detention facilities here in Kansas, our former Leavenworth federal prison is being rebuilt apparently to house undocumented immigrants as well. But are we finally getting bad guys off the street? We'll talk about that and, of course, some of the legal battles that is actually reinforcing the law enforcement across the nation as well. To talk about all that and more, really happy to have on the program. He is the founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Happy to have on here Sheriff Richard Mack. Richard, Sheriff, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me. I was kind of worried there because I haven't been feeling very well today, but doing the interview by phone is really going to help. So thank you so much.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us here because there's some big victories. I mean, this big bill we saw passed today, along with some of the legal battles, we might actually get law enforcement back on track to allow them to get the job done they need to get done.
Well, that's exactly correct. And we really hope that the sheriffs and chiefs of police of this country will get behind this. We have allowed human traffickers to set up shop in America. We've allowed the cartels to set up shop in America. And the Biden administration facilitated and even helped international terrorists who have dedicated themselves to destroying America. They have now set up shop in America because of one, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats. This, of course, it's going to take some extra spending to undo all that. So I don't approve of increasing the national debt or the spending, but this time to undo all of the crap that they did and all the shenanigans they pulled the last 4 years, it's going to take a little bit extra of building up the military and getting law enforcement the tools that they really need. So I'm going to be patient on that one, but everything else was fantastic. President Trump, we're behind you, and we need to have the sheriffs and the chiefs of police and law enforcement get out there so that we can find all these sleeper cells and lone wolves because they're going to be going after us now.
You said that really well, and I appreciate that because you are absolutely right. I understand the fiscal hawks that didn't vote for this bill because they don't want to increase the debt ceiling. They don't want to do additional spending. But you're right. When you come in and you destroy someone's property, it takes additional money to go in and reinvest to fix it back up again because of how broken it actually was. And that's where we're at right now as a nation. We have to get things back on track, and that's a really great way to look at that. So let's look at the law enforcement side of this first from the immigration standpoint. I saw a headline, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I believe it was a hit piece on the Trump administration trying to say that with all the deportations and all the arrests and all the rounding up that we've seen so far in the first 5 months of the administration, that they've only found 6% of the criminal illegal aliens that have committed murders and rapes and all these other bad, horrible things. in gang members and cartels. I don't know, Sheriff, is that true? Is it really that low? And if so, that's still at least a good start. We're getting these criminal aliens off the streets right now.
Well, he's been in office about 6 months. And getting 6% of them during that time is pretty good. But what we need are more law enforcement agencies across this country getting involved in the process.
Yeah.
Tom Homan can't do it alone. ICE can't do it alone. And who knows local jurisdictions better than the sheriff and the chief of police?
Sure.
No one. They have got to be out there identifying where these people are and getting the information to ICE and Tom Homan. And they can call me and get a hold of me because I can get it right to Tom Homan.
Sure.
So Tom has told me he's willing to talk to sheriffs and law enforcement and have them help. So let's get with it.
Yeah.
You guys can probably call him on your own. You don't have to go through me. I don't need to be the middleman. But I'm willing to help also. But we have got to get local law enforcement nationwide involved in the process.
Right. We really is it starting? I know I live here in Kansas, and we're all over the place, even outside of Kansas right now. But I know Kansas, in the Kansas Bureau of Investigations, our Attorney General's office, has all approved local sheriffs, local police officers to work with ICE and be trained with the ICE programs in order to help find these individuals. Is that happening around the nation right now, and is that getting better, do you think?
Yes, it is happening, and it is getting better. But some jurisdictions are against it because of these sanctuary cities for illegals and all this criminal element, which I can't believe the Democrats are actually going out publicly saying they want to keep all these sleeper cells here and the pedophiles and the human traffickers. We lost about 350, 400,000 children, to international sex trades.
Sure.
And that happened because of Joe Biden and this administration. To undo that, we've got to have local law enforcement support. Let's get with it. Let's find those children. Let's get them back home. And the sad thing of it is, some of the families that came up through Latin America into America illegally, some of them were selling their children because they couldn't afford it. How do you think these people found $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 to pay the cartels to come in?
Right.
They were selling some of their children.
Yeah.
And that is so sad and so despicable. But, folks, this is the marketplace that we opened up for them. And it is so horrible what we did. It is treason, it is criminal, and it is absolutely disgusting what the Democrats and the Biden administration pulled off.
Yeah.
Now we've got to undo it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is really sad that there's a market for this to allow them, because they wouldn't be coming here and doing what they do if there wasn't a market or some type of incentive for them to be doing that for sure. We're talking with Sheriff Richard Mack. He's the founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Sheriff, we got a couple minutes left here, but I want to talk about a big victory you've actually had, reinforcing the Constitution, reinforcing the 10th Amendment, and actually making sure that states and local communities keep hold of the power and control of sheriff's offices and law enforcement at a local level and not centralizing it at a federal level, because I know that was a big push from Democrats for a while. You had a big win on this. What's going on?
Well, I did. When I was sheriff back in the 90s, I actually sued the Clinton administration, where they promulgated the Brady bill and said, the sheriffs will enforce this for us, and if they don't, we're going to arrest them. They literally, that's right in there. It's all documented. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
And so I was the only one that raised up. I was the only one for 5 weeks until Sheriff Prince in Montana joined us. But only 7 sheriffs joined this lawsuit. And so I'm really disappointed in that. But I do know that there was a few others that just didn't do it. But, folks, we cannot allow our sheriffs to join a movement that is contrary to our Constitution.
Yeah.
All of the sworn oaths to uphold and defend the Constitution, and that is exactly what we should be doing. And if you want to get to know that case, just go to my website at cspoa.org. It was written by Justice Scalia, and it's the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of America.
Yeah, it's a major one. I love it. Sheriff, we got just about a minute left here before we let you go, and I appreciate your time very much. But are we getting better with criminal justice reform and actually getting bad guys off the streets, getting them in, and just actually punishing them, allowing them to get the rehabilitation they need, but actually keeping them off of the streets? Is America getting better, do you think, now?
Yes, we are. And another reason we are is because some of the real criminals are actually going to jail, like the judges, corrupt judges, Judge Hanna in Wisconsin. God bless Pam Bondi and the DOJ that's going after real crooks, and that's corrupt public officials. And so my hat's off to them. Let's keep going after public officials that are corrupt. Let's keep going after the real criminals, street, and the ones carrying attaché case or wearing robes in courtrooms.
Yeah.
We have got to straighten out America from the top down and from the down to the top, all the way around. We've got to fix America, and we've got to stop the corruption that's ruining our country.
That's what it's about. We're cleaning that deep state up, like you said, cleaning out the elites and that corruption going on, not only on the streets, but within our own systems that we've allowed to take hold as well. Find more information at cspoa.org. Sheriff, get feeling better, my friend. Happy Independence Day to you. Thanks for coming on. We got to get you back on again real soon.
Let's do it. Thanks so much.
Let's do it. Appreciate it very much. One more segment wrapping up for a pre-Independence Day celebration here on The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. America's safe space for common sense. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Clear about how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here. But the
These
CBO,
are facts, sir.
I would
I don't
like
have
to
to
see
editorialize.
scores.
These are
I
facts,
would like to
sir.
see what the economic output of every bill. You as a taxpayer should want that too. And the CBO is the only organization we have. If I could allow a private accounting firm to do it, I would much rather that happen. But the reality is it would have to be the CBO. And what do you have against knowing how much each bill is spent? Why does the media oppose to that? Why do you all on the left always fight every chance at America knowing what's going on? The problem y'all have with this bill, ma'am, is that it gets government out of our way and lets Americans make some decisions, and maybe hardworking Americans would have a better choice and a better shot at life in this country without you all just telling us how bad things are going and trying to construct, and as you're doing with me, trying to dictate what I've said.
Boom, the lay down, baby. That's a well done. That's a slam dunk. Putting the media back in their spot. At some point, they're going to just stop lying. Well, I take that back. No, I'm sorry. I thought I thought I could do it. And I was going to say at some point that the media, that the Democrats, that the common folk that just are the trolls, that just are the clapping seals that do whatever the Democrats tell them, and the ridiculousness and buy into the propaganda from the left-wing media, that they would eventually be like, gee, let's do a little bit of a research on our own. And then they would and be like, wow, I've been lied to this whole time. But is that going to happen? Is rationale and reason and common sense going to prevail? Probably not. Probably not, which is unfortunate. That was Congressman Tim Burchett, by the way, talking about the CBO numbers and where we are with the Medicaid reform. So now you can almost take a break. You've been in fight mode for so long. Republicans, take a break. It's okay. Take a breath and just regroup. It's done. We did it. We don't have to battle any longer. There's not another hurdle you have to go through. There's not another revision we have to do and trying to find ways to win everybody. We did it. And now the president's going to sign it. He did speak. We played that audio a little bit ago. He's in Iowa right now getting ready for his speech at the Iowa State Fairgrounds later on this evening, where he is announcing that tomorrow he will be signing it on 4th of July. So that's a big win for him. And congratulations. That being said, there was some other big news going on today as well.
What's trending today?
And that was his long speech that he had, or a phone call that he had with President Vladimir Putin of Russia, trying to figure out how to bring peace to that region because that's still ongoing. And Putin's starting to be a thorn in the side of President Donald Trump. I think he's starting to get a bit annoyed by that. During the conversation, apparently, the spokesperson for Vladimir Putin released a statement saying that our president said that Russia will achieve the goals that it has set. I'm curious on what those goals are because I don't know what they are other than just taking over all of Ukraine. This is the goals that they say they will not end the conflict until they achieve their goal, which is to eliminate the well-known root causes that led to the current state of affairs. To the current acute confrontation, and Russia will not back down from these goals. I don't know what that means. The goal is that the elimination of the well-known root causes that led to the current state of affairs. In other words, we're going to start the conflict for obvious reasons, and we won't end them until we get the goals that we want, which is to eliminate the root causes of the reason which we invaded you in the first place. That doesn't make any sense. What are we talking about here? I really think that Vladimir Putin is just trying to drag this out as long as possible, but here's my anticipation. Here's the prediction of the day.
Andy's prediction.
I really don't think it's going to last that much longer because there are no root causes that Vladimir Putin can justify, and with everybody turning against him, with Iran now falling, and Iran's been kind of the puppet for Vladimir Putin and Russia in the Middle East just to cause that havoc. They don't get the drones. They don't get the resources from them any longer like they used to. And now with Donald Trump really starting to crack the whip and getting impatient from Vladimir Putin, he's not going to take no. Donald Trump is not a guy that's going to be like, well, we tried, nothing else we can do. He's not going to take it. He's going to do something. I don't know what it is, but he will do something that will really put Vladimir Putin on hold and put some pressure on him, and I bet you they will start making some type of peace agreement. Imagine this, though, just out of speculation, observation here. Donald Trump has created peace now in the Middle East with a peace agreement between Israel and Iran. We've created a new 60-day peace treaty that Israel has signed on to with them in Hamas. We're now working on the peace in Russia and Ukraine, which, to be honest, we've kind of done everything we can do. It's really not up to us to do everything there, although we should be, I guess, involved somehow. If he's able to complete that, Donald Trump will have created more peace in the modern American time than any other president in the last at least 100 years. To create actual peace, Donald Trump will have done that. And that, my friends, is what we can celebrate on Independence Day, the greatness of this nation and the golden age that we're about to get into. Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. We'll be back at it again here real soon. Until then, be your own voice of reason. We'll see you on the radio. Bye.